Hey, now we're going to write a simple application that is going to be putting all of the concepts we learned together. The application is not going to be complicated. The main goal of this is for you to understand these concepts even further. Then you can use them in more complex applications. If I use them in a complex application myself, you will have to focus on figuring out the complexity and might not be able to focus on the concepts altogether that we have learned in this course so far. With that said, let's take a look at the diagram here and see about the requirements. So as you can see, we have an imaginary database once again, and it has writers and promoters. So we have two sets of data, so to speak. There's some sample data here. So first name, last name. There's an autobiography. I guess this is the property, right? Type. So this is a blog, and this is a book. So we have a type, as you can see, a main kind of abstract base class that is saying it's a writer, and then this is going to be a blog writer, this is going to be a book writer. And there's you can imagine this has millions of rows, but for simplicity's sake, we're just saying the database only has 3 writers and 3 promoters. So the other type is promoters. Promoters have first name, last name, cell phone, and then they have my business card, which is once again is going to be the property, and they have 2 types. So Omnia promoters and Access promoters. Access and Omnia are basically just clubs in Las Vegas, and there are 2 promoters, 2 types of promoters, and promoter being the base class once again. So you can imagine that it already has been loaded for you in a list. So just like the way we've done it before, you can imagine that you have all the information at your disposal. So you can put them in a list and imagine like you have already loaded it from the database. That's totally fine. And now let's look at what we have to work with. So once again, you already know that we have 2 base classes. We have a writer, we have a promoter, right? Because from that, then you have 2 children. You have the Omnia Club Promoter, Access Club Promoter, then you have Blog Writer and Book Writer. Then you have these methods. So the writer has a method write, which goes down all the way to Blog Writer and Book Writer. And promoter has a method promote, so it goes to Access Club Promoter and Omnia Promoter, or Omnia Club Promoter. And then you have iVlogger and iBodybuilder. So these are abilities that, so for example, Access Club Promoter also happens to be a bodybuilder, right? So it has bodybuilding abilities, but it's also a vlogger. So it has also vlogging abilities. So this is where you're going to have to deal with the multiple inheritance. But then also both book and blog writers, both of them are also vloggers. Right, so you're going to have to figure out where to put the interfaces and all that stuff you need to figure out. And let's actually look at some of the steps. So it says final requirement. You will have 4 lists. Personal information is up to you, so you can fake some of the data. When you're putting the first name and last name, you can use the stuff that we have here, or you can just fake them out. It's totally fine. But at the end, you're going to have list 1. So you're going to have 4 lists. And list 1 is going to have 3 promoters, 2 Access promoters, and 1 Omnia promoter. List 2 is going to have 3 writers, so 2 book writers, 1 blog writer. List 3 is going to have 2 bodybuilders, any type. So in this case, we only have 1 type. As you can see, it's Access Club Promoter. So you're basically going to have 2 Access Club Promoters. And so list 4 is going to have 2 vloggers, any type. Once again, it can be, it can be an Access Club Promoter because it's a vlogger. It can be a blog writer or a book writer, any one of them. But they're going to be on the list. You're going to have 4 lists. And then we want to see how, so we basically, once again, in our previous example, we want to see how promoters promote, how writers write, how bodybuilders work out, how vloggers vlog, regardless of their type. So, you can be creative with any text that are not given. So if any of the promoting, you don't know what text to put, just be creative with it. Just say console.writeLine, I am promoting now, or whatever you want. It doesn't matter. So it's not part of the requirements. As long as it's using the console.writeLine and it's saying some text that's relevant to the action happening, you're good to go. So then promoters have 2-step promotion process. So these guys. And share with Inner Circle. So they share with Inner Circle. Omnia promoters share with their friends. Access promoters share with their Instagram followers. And paid ads, that's the second step that they use. Omnia promoters use Facebook ads, and Access promoters use Google AdWords. Now, another requirement I'm going to add is that you are going to keep these private from the world, but you're going to only reveal these steps in the child classes. And I'm not going to tell you what to use. You're going to have to figure that out yourself. But the requirement, once again, here is that the promotion process, promote can be used by the outside world, but these 2 processes that are part of the promotion can only be accessed by the children. And they have to be done in the order. So first you have to share with the Inner Circle, then you have to use the paid ads. you can't do it in, in a reverse order if you decide to do it. So once the class is instantiated, you cannot mess with the order, right? So that's the other rule. So that's essentially it. Now, before I write any code, I'm going to give you some time to do it for yourself. So please pause the video here. We have already done a very similar example to this, and you should know exactly how to write this application. You can pretend like the data has already been loaded once again from the database, so you can put them in a list the way we have done it in our previous videos. Then you just read through the requirements and write the app step by step, as we have done in our previous example. Once you have written it, then play the video and follow through to see what you have got right and what you did differently or got wrong. This way you will learn a lot more than just by watching me writing code on my own, even though I will still be explaining all of my thought processes and my decisions, so don't worry about that. But it'll just be better for you to write it on your own and kind of struggle with it and then see how I do it so that you can fill in any gaps that you might have after it. So pause the video, do it yourself, and then come back. Alright, so let's go ahead and write some code here. So I have my charts here. That's cool. Now I also have Visual Studio Code open. It's completely empty. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say File, and I'm going to say Open Folder, and in here I'm going to say Create New One. I'm going to call it App. You can name it whatever you want. That doesn't really matter. Open it up. And then remember here we have to actually create a new project. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say .NET new console, and it'll do the restoring of all the stuff, and we don't need to run it right off the bat too. So we can just create that first, get that going, and here we have our program. So we're at least good to go, and we should be able to do everything else. If the configuration you haven't set up yet, we can just go and do that very quickly. You just say add configuration .NET Core, and that's about that. It's very easy. Now we can just test that it runs. Just click play, or start debugging. That has a play button. And here we go, hello world. So we verified that our program runs. Great. Now what we can do is actually start thinking about this. So let's open this up. Now let's see what we need. We need 2 abstract base classes. Let's just create all of this stuff and not put anything in it just yet. Just have our structure built up. That's the first step. That's what I would do. Now you might have done it differently. That's cool. I'm just showing you my approach. So it's totally fine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab these guys, promoter and writer. I'm going to come back here and I'm going to create 2 new file, promoter.cs. Then I'm going to create another one, writer.cs, and these are both abstract classes, right? So public abstract class, and this one is writer, and the other one is gonna be promoter. So there we go, just saving some time here. So we got these 2 skeletons done. This guy and this guy are good to go. Now we need to create blog writer and book writer. So let's grab these guys. Let's just create everyone. Book writers, promoters, everyone. So just to get the skeleton down first, I will say blog writer.cs, and then I will say book writer.cs, and then I won't put anything in there yet because they're going to be very similar to the promoters, structure-wise that is. And here we go, we're just going to say once again .cs, and I don't want to misspell anything, so I'm just going to copy the name. And here we go, .cs, and then now let's actually do some code writing. So public class blog writer, just the concrete class. This one is book writer, so just change that part. Alright, and access club promoter, let's see, just gonna grab the name, and same with Omnia, just paste that, so grab this, and this one's actually not that bad, so I'll just say Omnia Cloud Promoter. Alright, so now we have these ready. Let's see what else we need. So we have our concrete classes ready, we have our abstract classes ready, and we need some interfaces. So let's create the iVlogger interface. I'll pop that in here. I'll say iVlogger.cs public interface iVlogger, because that's how I create an interface using interface reserved keyword. And then I will create iBodybuilder. For that, I'm gonna need this guy. Just grab that, pop it in here. And CS, it's gonna be very similar to iVlogger, except the name. And then grab the name, and here we go. Now let's see the diagram. So we have our concrete classes, we have our abstract classes, and we have our interfaces all ready to go. Now, I think the easiest thing, we can just go top down. Now that we have everything ready, let's actually connect them together and create the hierarchy before we put any methods or any implementations in. Let's just get the whole picture down before we start painting. You know what I mean? Like, let's set the canvas before we paint our picture. That's how I approach program writing. Not just this one. Even when I write very complex application, I still do the same thing. I just kind of put the stuff down, the skeleton down, and then from that skeleton, I start building, you know, building the actual human, so to speak. Like, that's the analogy that I would make, right? Just kind of like put the skeleton there, and then from there, go and start making it more and more complex. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say vlog is a method on Vlogger. Let's go here. Let's say, where are you, Vlogger? So this is public. This is going to just be void. So void vlog. And for iBodybuilder, it's just going to be void workout. So here we go. These two were pretty easy. Writer is going to have a method write on it. That's cool. So let's see. Writer, where are you? You're right here. You're going to have a method write, which is abstract. So I'm going to say public abstract void. So that means that this method is just going to have to be defined by the child classes. And then I'm going to go to the promoter, and I'm going to say, well, the promoter needs to have a method promote. Promote. Oh, just take that out. Promote. Here we go. Okay, now let's go back to our diagram. So we have the write, we have promote, we have a vlog, we have workout. Now what we need to do is we need to combine these together and create the hierarchy. So let's see, book writer, blog writer and book writer both inherit from writer, and then XS Club Promoter and Omnia Club Promoter inherit promoter base class. So let's go ahead and do that. That's easy to do. Now promoter is right here. We're gonna grab that guy. Let's actually close everything, and we can save that. Save these and close these just so we can have a cleaner dashboard here. Close that. Okay, cool. Now I will go to Omnia and XS promoters, both of them where they're gonna inherit from promoter, right? And this is how you do inheritance. So that's that, and that's that. Now they say you need to generate your own constructor. That's cool, that's fine. But we also need to implement the abstract promote. So I will just do that, and then we'll put some code in that afterwards. Okay, so that looks good. That looks good. Just so far so good, right? The skeleton still. We're creating the hierarchy now, the skeleton of hierarchy. And the next thing is the writer. So the writer is, once again, an abstract base class. Book writer is going to inherit that. And so is the blog writer. See, it's making it red because it's saying we need to do some stuff. So you can actually do this automatically, create the constructor and the abstract method implementation. I'm gonna go ahead and do these guys. Okay, so this is looking good. So let's see what we have done so far. So we created this, we created this, we created this, we created this. Now a promoter can be a vlogger, or yeah, XS promoter can be a vlogger, and it can be a bodybuilder. So let's actually pop those two things in there. XS, so this can be I bodybuilder and an I vlogger. So see how this is multiple inheritance right now? It's saying implement interface, vlog, and it needs to also implement workout. So it's forcing us to do that. So an XS Club Promoter will know how to promote, how to vlog, and how to work out. It's doing these, all of these things at the same time. Now let's see what else we need. Here it says that nobody else is a bodybuilder, which is cool. And then a vlogger. So besides XS Club Promoter, the book writer and the blog writer are also vloggers. Now instead of us doing them individually, we can just inherit that from or we can implement that in the in the base class, and the base class will then force our child classes to do the same thing, which is going to say, hey, listen, I implement iVlogger, so you guys have to do that as well, right? So it's going to save us a lot of code, and it's just a cleaner way to do it. So I'm going to go to writer, and in here I'm going to say, so I will say iVlogger, and then what that's going to say, we need to implement a method. Now here's the thing. I implement a vlog, so vlog here. What's going to happen is it's going to have a concrete definition, so that if I go back here, so then these both will get the same way of vlogging. But what we want to do is we want to give the opportunity for each guy to define it for themselves. So what we can do is we can make this into an abstract method. So let's actually take this out and say public void, public abstract void vlog. So this still, follows the same convention. It still says that, I'm following the vlogger interface contract. I still have a vlog method on me. It's just that that method happens to be abstract. Now what that says then to the children classes, which are, blog writer and book writer, as you can see, they're red now, is that now they have to implement it specifically themselves, which is what we're doing here. But the reason why it's using the override reserved keyword is because it's overriding the method on the abstract class. And then the abstract class just follows the contract from the interface. So we can just do the same thing on the blog writer as well. So here we go. And let me see. So do we have everything? I think we do. Well, besides the concrete stuff in there. We have created the entire hierarchy, so we have all the hierarchy all set, and we have also put all the methods in. We created all the classes, so it's looking pretty good. Let me close all the stuff out, and then we can move from there. So go back to the diagram, and let's see what we need to do. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take care of this requirement. It says this promoters have a two-step promotion process. And it gives us the promotion process, and also remember the requirement that the promotion process can only be seen by the children classes, not by the outside world. So in the next video, we're going to take care of that requirement, and we're also going to kind of like fill in the actual implementations in each method that we have created, and then we're going to create these lists and fulfill the entire business requirement.